What happened to them is an experience in terror you will never forget, and you will believe in the Amityville Horror.
Dangerfield, Dangerfield.
All right there. Such was the scarcity, rarity, almost legendary stroke mythological status of the horror movie. Towards the end of the 70s, they were called video nasties. That's it. Although it was a kind of unspoken truth that you're video nasty, and I'm talking BBC, ITV, UK state broadcaster would talk about video. A new spate of video nasties have come into the country. And the sort of unspoken truth of your video nasty was a horror movie that had gone just a bit too far. And what they loved with your video nasty was a backstory, you know. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre was considered a video nasty. And if anyone actually did have it, to perpetuate the mythological status and true horror of the legend of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it would be, no, that's not the actual one, because the actual one was banned because they used real people. The amount of times and you know, these are those golden years, so, you know, 10, 11, 12, 13. You know, I can remember when E.T. come out, and a girl, good old Odette Openshaw, she's featured in a few of my videos. I remember at the dinner table, there we were, little kids with our little school ties on. We weren't on the slow eaters table. Do you remember the slow eaters table? What an insult. Kids on there, they obviously, I mean, we don't need modern psychology to know this. I knew this at 7 years old, York Road Primary School, that the kids who are slow eaters have got an issue with eating. To put them on a table separate, the little spastic corner, draw attention to it, give them attention for it as well, was ludicrous. That's not what you need to be doing in that instance. And what was weird and super special about the slow eaters table, it was used as a general kind of catch-all for freaks and weirdos. It wasn't just the people that used to push a pea around going, but I don't like it. It wasn't just them, your regulation textbook slow eater. But you had sort of like, there was one bloke who had a cleft palate. Like he had sort of that, and a really nasty, you know, the line. And there was always a bit of dried snot. His name was Amaric. Amaric. No one liked him. He had no friends. And because of that, he was badly adjusted. And he wouldn't eat. He would just continue living in his own weird cleft world. So he got put on there. If anyone broke a limb, and this was quite a lot. Do you remember at school? There was always people breaking limbs. We had one kid, Kevin Robinson, broke both his legs and both his arms over the period of 4 years. That goes back to what I was talking about Freudian slips. Freudian slip over. You know what I mean? You know, that's, you know, once or twice is an accident. 3 or 4 is a cry for help. Another friend of mine, Michael, he I'll tell it how he told it. We were at school and he's come in with his leg in plaster, and all the other boys were jealous because it kind of alphas you for a bit, doesn't it? Although you've shown yourself as weak in the attention stakes, you know, and the popular girls, and I'm talking like age like 8 or 9, the popular girls then would love the attention, so suddenly they'd have their arm around and going, oh, look after you, Kevin, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, writing all over his leg, hand resting on his other leg. Oh. What about them? Not just that they were on that table. Oh, yeah, know how he described it. So he's come in, he's got his crutches. I mean, I'd done him right up, actually. I was his mate, so I was assigned getting his dinner. So every day I'd get his school dinner and a dessert that he didn't like, and I'd have 2 desserts. Anyway, He's come in crutches, leg in plaster. Everyone's, oh no, what happened to you? All that. And she said, Michael, would you like to tell the class what happened? So he stood up in front of the class with his crutches. Nervous kid anyway. Ended up coming to visit me at my third art college. And we done acid and he went mental and he's never come back. He's one of those. You know, and I used to say, that don't exist. You have a bad trip, you'll be all right. A couple of beers. He never came back. He's not right. Hates me. Just, nah. We were best mates. Acid will tear apart your heart. So he's up there, nervous anyway, and he didn't say anything for quite some time. And she's going, Michael, come on, Michael, just say what happened. And in the end, he went, I broke my leg playing Super Gran. Playing Super Gran. For those of you who don't know, Super Gran was a tedious BBC One kids programme about a Scottish grandmother who was also super. Dire. I hated BBC One. A lot of the time on BBC, everyone liked Grey and Jill. Everyone wanted the working class stuff. Or they wanted BBC Two quirky stuff, the water margin, the monkey, all that sort of stuff. And BBC would have these mad, always like middle class kids who lived in these gorgeous mansions. Mama, can we go and play with the reindeer? Oh, but please, because Penelope, but it's just awful. And they'd be there in their little sort of school uniforms. No, I don't think so. Father's a soldier in the Boer. Not for me. Anyway, so what he actually done, Super Gran, playing Super Gran to him, was jumping off the garage roof repeatedly until he snapped his leg. Still walks with a limp. Not so Super Grandad. So legs going back, school, all the way back. Wow. Chances of me catching up with this. Do I pause it and watch it back? Nah, we'll carry on. Video nasties. So yeah, they're real. They used real people. That was the next thing. So if you actually saw it and it didn't live up to the hype, you could say, no, this one was remade because the real actors have been caught and they're in captive and all this sort of shit. Which of course led to your Snuff movie. Now this is pre-internet, but the idea of a Snuff movie was a movie made for generally non-sexual purposes. I think I've said a bit too much about my unconscious dropping that bit in. No one thought that anyway. But horror movies where real people were actually killed. That was the idea. And so then someone would come into school and they'd have heard the adults or their older brother talk about something like The Exorcist. And you'd go, yeah, I've seen The Exorcist. Everyone had seen everything, without a doubt. You know, there's no room for not having seen something. I don't ever remember a teenage kid going, no, I haven't seen that and know very little about it. They're like, yeah, I've seen The Exorcist. And then someone would go something like, you know the man who dies? No one did, because no one died. No, did a man die? Maybe the vicar, I can't remember. I haven't seen it. I'm still doing it. I've seen it. I haven't seen it. I don't know what to say now. I've seen a bit of it. They do what I'm doing now. Life's a wicked rumble. So your video nasties have come out, and they're this thing that sort of doesn't really exist. But when I was thinking about that earlier, I was struck by the terror. The horror, namely, specifically the horror of those movies and how much of that they brought into my life. Now, it started with an Aliens book. My mate had a book, big, thick book, A4, photographs, stills, probably something like one every 20 seconds, of the whole movie. And I remember I loved it. It was so amazing. Every page had like 20 odd photos. Next, you know, as if you were flicking through the movie. Spaceships and Geiger stuff and... What's her name? I nearly said Ridley Scott. What's her name? Ripley Scott. It's not Ripley, is it? Come on. Ghostbusters. Can't think of her name. All that though, lovely. And I remember Robert Kemp, his name was. He's a writer now. He had a very successful book about being a father. It's called Expectant Dad. Ching! I'll leave a link in the description. But I said to him, oh, please let me. I wasn't even good mates with him. I was like, please let me borrow it, and just hassled him. And in the end, he went, all right, bring it, make sure you bring it back tomorrow. When I had it at night, I was like, whoa, I'm never giving this back. This is mine. And then I got to this page where Ash the android, I respect the alien, him, he'd had his head chopped off by Ripley Scott. And it was on the floor. But the juice that was coming out of it was like milky. It was milky. And it had in it these tubes with these balls on it, you know, like his robot interior. And it was gross, man. Something about it, they looked like gooseberries in this milk. Like flesh humanoid sort of Radiohead zombie eggs in milk. And something about it was gross. Didn't like it. Do you know what I mean? Disproportionate response. It must have had some symbolic link to some trauma. And I couldn't even have it in my room. I had to put it downstairs. I remember at night, Mum went, "Don't you want to take your new book up?" She's not Northern. She went, "Don't you want to take..." She actually speaks like me, weirdly enough. She went, "Don't you want to take your new book up?" And I, no. And even, got it back to him. Didn't even like it on the way to school. Admittedly, it was better during the day. Anyway, that's one of my first memories of it. But then after that, what started getting me was adverts on telly. Now, my mum and dad were pretty lax with us having to go to bed. I could see the Sweeney on a Sunday. I'd usually fall asleep during it, but even when I was like 10, 11, that's like 10, half 10 on a Sunday night. They were pretty good like that. But that did mean I got shocked to death. I got proper horrors. Now, I've always seen horror faces. From as far back as I can remember, when I shut my eyes to go to bed at night, I'd see hideous, hell-like faces coming at me, one after the other. Almost like a sort of like a, the computer animations where it just gets the same, and then fractals of all that. And that sort of stuff is played upon, those archetypal figures of fear. You know, they appear as regular in horror as the clock chimes at noon. And so there'd be these adverts, and I'd just be sort of sitting there. My mum's in the kitchen, dad's already gone to bed. I'm just a little child watching the telly, and suddenly he goes, "Are you going outside this summer?" And I'd be like, "Ah!" And then I'd have to try and turn it off. But that would mean getting nearer to the telly, and as I got nearer, it would just cut to this thing covered in blood with like a big blade or something, and a woman with her eyes hanging out going, "Ah!" And I'd just be, "Ah!" And then, by the time I got there and actually switched it off, the last thing that would come up something like, "Poltergeist, it's coming to get you." And I'd be like, terrifying. And there was loads of adverts that done it as well. And then, of course, it come to watching these fucking things. And the ones that really done me, like I quickly became accustomed and desensitized to your slasher films. Even that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Driller Killer. The blood and gore ones are easy. Even at 11, 12, it's a bit gross, make you jump a couple of times. But the ones that got me were the supernatural ones, the ones that involved the devil. I'd already had the frighteners put on me by a bloke round at the local church. He told me about the Book of Revelations, cried himself to sleep for about 6 months, terrified, thought that it was going to come and my mum and my dad were going to get murdered by the IRA. He spun me such a bullshit. He'd done a proper job on me. But I just was getting over that. So this was new, replaced, whatever that stuff linked to symbolically, traumatically, unconsciously. As I was getting over that, the horror movies kind of replaced that. So any that had, weirdly, this is a really weird inversion, but any that appeared to have a grain of truth. See what I mean? I mean, reality, the chances are a bloke's not coming around your house with a fucking like chainsaw. That's probably not going to happen. There's not a bloke with a hockey mask going to come into your, but all that sort of stuff. But because I had a concept of God and the supernatural, the spiritual world, so to speak, it seemed quite likely that these things would happen, especially since old fucking Vic and Bob round the corner had given it to me. And they were terrifying. The Amityville horror, and we'd all watch it in groups, and I'll say this with almost certainty, that out of the 4 or 5 other lads that watched these videos with me, most of them had the same experience of me or similar. It was scary stuff that we used to pretend to enjoy. Going, "No, that don't scare me." And just walking home through the dark alleys thinking, "What the fuck is it?" So significant. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to get over this. And it really scared me. It had a lasting effect on me. It featured elsewhere in my life. Strange, man. Video nasties. Such a different world that they would arrive. You know, they would be a thing. You know, because of the video players, because suddenly there was a way of playing them. Funny, the old video, when they come out, you had in England, you had VHS and Betamax. They both burst onto the scene, and suddenly Tomorrow's World, TV adverts, other shows. It's that cinema is at its day. What cinema actually done was adapted and made big screen, big blockbuster movies that you just don't get even on your fucking, what's it called, Slither Shot. I know it's not called Slither Shot, plasma, flat screen. The earth is flat. Dawkins. But it was all like that, you know, it was all going to be about in, how and out. And weirdly it did. It set a trend that has so far has got to like the likes of Netflix and that, where we watch 3 whole seasons, 36 episodes all day Sunday. Yeah. Did you like Daredevil? Yeah. 30 pints of coffee later. It was weird that there was the 2 of them, because VHS won. I mean, the rumour was, the Betamax is the better machine. No, it's the better machine. I mean, I know they don't seem to be as popular, but it's certainly the better machine. That's what everyone said, and may well have been true, but it certainly died out. And it died out to the point where we'd get down to the video shop on the weekend, because we heard that Alan Carter's next door neighbour had a video player, so we were all going to pile around his, and we get down to the video shop, and it's like, right, what one should we get? He goes, well, it's Betamax, so we have to go to the Betamax section of 4 videos. It's weird, isn't it, that weird little thing? You got Apple and Microsoft, or they're the same thing, you know what I mean? Commodore 64 and Spectrum, the big computer battle in the 80s. But when you see what children are exposed to today and how weirdly sheltered we were, protected from all of that, you know, sneaking a bit of the Amityville horror around a mate's next door neighbour on his Betamax. We watched a soft porn called Sweet Sexual Awakening round at Jimmy Nunn's house. His dad was a vicar. And we got caught. Luckily, it was just a woman in the garden going, I look at the park keeper sometimes and I like him. And we were going, I can't wait for the bit where, it's over. And of course, all the horror movies led on to the Ouija boards. And people didn't want to do them in their houses because they didn't want the glass to tilt and the evil spirit to be released. Muggins here didn't mind. Oh, give me the attention. Using Scrabble pieces around the table. Agister, told you about that before in one of my old videos. Trying to contact the fucking Snuff movie deaths. Have you died making a video? And those kids loved it at school. Did you wipe the glass out with? You need a bit of cloth from a vicar's robe. What? Where'd you make that up from? No, it's true. If you don't do it, your whole house is going to be the Amityville too. Oh, you little horrors!
Thanks for watching. Hãy subscribe cho kênh Ghiền Mì Gõ để không bỏ lỡ